Hey everybody, it's Rajesh here.
And Tane here.
Welcome to our podcast, Baskets of Knowledge, Chats with a Difference. In our podcast, we invite guests from around the country and around the world to talk about how they got to where they're at the moment. It's about a journey, it's about an experience, it's about their life. Good everybody, welcome to another edition of Baskets of Knowledge. And as I said before, we're just going to forget about the numbers because we're all over the place, which is great. Kia ora, Tane, welcome back. And how are you going today?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm finally back down in Dunedin, which, means the holiday is almost over, but that's all right.
Yeah, awesome. Time flies there when you're having fun.
Mm.
Oh, brilliant. So, Tane, I'm not going to ask you about what you put in your basket of knowledge. I'm actually going to ask you to fill our basket of knowledge because you got a tamoko done this week. Do you want to tell our listeners about that and what it actually is?
Yep. So on Wednesday, I got my tamoko done. So I got it for those who don't know, it's a Maori traditional tattoo to represent family. And for me, it also represents things I have strong values about and what I did growing up. So I got it done on Wednesday. I've had it designed for a few years, but finally to be able to have it with me. And I guess now it's a part of me where I can carry my family and those that I represent as I go through my journey through life. So I'm quite proud to have got it done. It's been a long time coming. I'm still getting used to having the idea of actually waking up and it still being there. It's something you're not used to until you get it. But yeah, I'm very proud to have got it done.
Oh, awesome. And for our listeners out there who probably can't see this, you want to tell them where it's located and how big it is, I guess, in relation?
Yep. So I've got it on my left shoulder. It's still healing at the moment. It's probably from the shoulder down to the elbow. And so for me, it's a bit different. Most people generally get it on their right side. And obviously most people are right-handed, which makes sense. But for me being left-handed, I thought that was something unique that I could bring to my own tamoko. And I think that's the other thing that makes it quite unique is, everyone's different. Mine's not going to be designed to anyone else's in the world, which is quite unique to me.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I guess at some stage we can go into depth about that there. But it's pretty cool because you haven't put something into your basket of knowledge. You've actually put your knowledge on your body, which is pretty awesome. And I guess that's pretty awesome that Maori and some Pacifica do that, where they tell their story on their body, which is really, really cool. So thank you for sharing that there. And as always, we try and scour the country to find some amazing people. And as always, we have managed to find, I think as always, we have managed to find another awesome human being to bring onto our podcast. Let's welcome Katie Walsh onto our podcast today. Welcome, Katie.
Morena, korua.
Kia ora, Katie. So before we start our podcast, do you just want to tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at the moment, I guess?
Yeah, of course. Well, my name's Katie Walsh. I am working for Waiora. We're based in Taranaki. We work with about 13 kuras, high schools that are around Taranaki, Maunga, the mountain. And really, we just aim to encourage our rangatahi to pursue a career either in health or education. Otherwise, we will follow those rangatahi in any careers, excuse me, that they wish to pursue. We're just another support kaupapa for our Māori rangatahi to follow their dreams, really.
Oh, awesome. So you're a dream enabler, essentially, right? If we can really use that. Yeah. You totally are. No, fingers crossed, you definitely are. And having worked with Waiora for a while and kind of being a part of Waiora, I think you definitely are dream enablers. But this is where you're right now. Let's talk about your story. If I go back to Katie when she was in year 12, I guess even younger than that. There, if I said to you, "Hey, Katie, you'll be doing this," what would you say to me?
Ooh, year 12. Year 12, I was at Sacred Heart Girls College here in New Plymouth. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do for my future.
Yeah.
It was almost ingrained that we were to go to university. So I was on the hunt to find a career that I was kind of passionate about, or at least that I would enjoy doing for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
I had a lot of talks with Mitch, actually. Mitch works at Waiora as well. She's a kaiarahi. It's quite crazy how she was my kaiarahi at the time, and now I'm working with her. It's an amazing experience. But really, in year 12, I think I would just say, give anything a go.
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy it, that's fine. There's always other opportunities out there. As long as you put 100% effort in, yeah, at least you know you've tried, and you don't have that thought in the back of your mind saying, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that?
Yeah, and that's very true. And I want to pick up on something that you said there. You said it was ingrained for you to go to university. Where did this ingraining come from? And let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, that was in within school. So what I had in my mind that if we didn't go to university, you would have been a bum. You know,
Okay.
if you, yeah, basically you had to go to university. That's what was ingrained within my head. But other than that, where I am at now, totally not the case. You can leave school after year 13, after year 12, you can go get an apprenticeship, you can go get a job. Your success is within your eyes only. The success isn't just going to university, then getting a job out of that. It's basically what you're passionate about and what you're going to enjoy. That's what I think a success looks like.
And I think it's very important to mention that because, you know, a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, it's through no fault of them. And I think it's through society that if you go to university, you seem to be a success. But I think the conversation has to be rephrased to be actually university is one of the many options that you have.
Definitely.
You know, as you mentioned before, you know, you're at school, if you didn't go to university, in somebody's eyes, society's eyes, it could be incorrect, you were a bum. But if I said to you, if someone had said to you in year 12 that, hey, Katie, it doesn't actually matter what you do, you find your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Would your story be a bit different at that stage? If I just said, if somebody said to you, hey, it doesn't matter, just enjoy school. Who cares about what happens next? Just enjoy what you want to do.
Definitely. I think it would have taken off a lot of pressure that I had put on myself at that time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'm always in my own head. Yeah, so definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of our young people at the moment are going through that stage where you have to know what you want to do. And I think with exam results coming up across the country yesterday and today, and people haven't got the grades that they wanted, and that's fine. But they see it as a failure in life when it's not actually a failure in life. And you know, it's just that perception and the story that we tell ourselves. So you have this expectation, I guess, internal expectation that you had to go to university. So in year 12, you're like, oh, I don't know what I really want to do. Year 13 comes around, and for our listeners that are not in New Zealand, year 13 is the final year of school. And this is when decisions start being made as to what's happening after you leave school. So in year 13, now you have to make a choice now. And your choice is basically university because the other choices were just taken away from you. How did you go through your thought process at that stage?
Yeah, well, I had a few barriers within my year 13. So I was actually quite passionate about radiology. So I, through Waiora, I did a mātaki shadowing program at the base hospital where I was able to shadow a professional radiographist for about 2 hours, and I absolutely loved it. The only issue was I didn't take biology in year 11 or 12. So I had put my mind towards taking biology in year 13 without doing year 11 and 12 bio. I knew it was going to be difficult, but I had asked for some help whether to take it or not. And that advice back was take a gateway course instead, as it would be too hard for you. So at that point, I was like, no, I'm going to give it a go. So I did it. I didn't pass it, which was another barrier in my mind, thinking I'm not good enough to do it.
Yep.
But where I am at now, I'm glad that I gave it a go. And I didn't study radiography. I did my second choice, which was a Bachelor of Arts majoring in criminology and minoring in psychology. So that was fun down in Wellington. I completed 1 year and it just wasn't right for me, wasn't in the right headspace either. So I moved home and I started again. And I think that was the best choice that I could have done after high school as well.
Yeah, okay. So this, I mean, thanks for sharing that. There's lots to unpack in that little corridor there. So you spoke about radiography being a passion for you, and I guess this is important for listeners out there. You know, when you have an idea, perception versus reality, something's very different. So what made you do the shadowing with that particular? Why was that an interest for you at that point in time? Radiography, was it something you read about, saw, or was it in your family, or?
I had never heard of radiography before. Yep. I had no idea what it was. So I just thought it was very, very interesting, and it was able to help others around Aotearoa as well.
Yeah.
So within that, Mitch said that she could set me up with a shadowing program just so I could get a taster of what it would be like before I actually go and study, which was great because otherwise I wouldn't have known really what I was getting into unless I was doing my own research about it. So it was good to get that face-to-face interaction and ask all the questions that I needed to before going and studying it.
Yeah, awesome. So you gave it a crack, you enjoyed that, and then you gave it a bio crack. Didn't really work out for you, but this is life. So you go from science type subject to something that's totally different.
Yeah.
How did that happen? I mean, what's the process there?
Well, my friends were going down to Wellington. They were going to Victoria, and it seemed as though there was quite a few people I knew that were taking psychology and criminology. So I thought, why not give it a go? If I'm going to go to university, I might do something similar to someone else and I might enjoy it. And at least I'll have that group there to help support me through that as well.
Yeah.
That's the thought process I had at that time.
Yeah, that's what we do, right? We follow our friends, we follow comfort, right? This is comfort. I'm not sure what to do. And then you moved to Wellington. But before we move to Wellington, I'm going to go right back. You said you were in New Plymouth, but you didn't grow up in New Plymouth, did you? You grew up in a small part of New Zealand. Do you want to tell listeners about where you grew up and what that was like?
Yeah, I was brought up around the coast in Opunake, a lovely little town, great beach.
Yeah.
And it's quite ironic because we have about 2 of everything within Opunake. We have about 2 dairies, 2 fish and chip shops, 2 pubs, and 2 Foursquares. So I don't know what it is about the 2, but yeah, it was a really good childhood getting brought up in Opunake in a small town, and it was a change for me moving to New Plymouth, to a bigger city.
Yeah. And for listeners out there, Opunake is maybe about an hour, 45 minutes away from New Plymouth.
45 minutes.
Yeah. So for listeners that don't live in New Zealand, for contrast, Opunake is, how many people live in Opunake, you reckon? What's the population?
Oh, ballpark. I actually have no idea.
It's pretty small. It's a small community. So moving from there to New Plymouth, which is a little bit bigger, and then from New Plymouth to moving to Wellington, what is that like for you as a person? Because we're going from small to a little bit bigger to now, oh, actually, wait a minute, we're going to the capital now. What is that like for you?
It was another big change. But the difference between New Plymouth and Wellington is that there was a large variety of different types of people within Wellington, which I loved. Yeah. And when you're walking around, you're in your own world. Not many people are really looking at you, or they know you. So it's kind of getting out of the small towns and going to actually start your life in a new chapter.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Tane in here. Tane, so you grew up in the same region as Katie. Do you feel the same thing, that when you were in New Plymouth or Taranaki, that people sort of knew who you were, so you had to be, I guess, guarded sometimes, or not just be yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Especially as I started going through different realms, sports, I started to get to know more people. Through high school, academically, I started to get to know more people. And so just through taking up those opportunities, you start to get to know more people. And that means that sometimes you can't just chill. You can't, it's kind of like, I guess it's kind of the sense like a teacher, right? You've got your school, you've got your class that you handle from 9 to 3, but if you see your teacher outside of school, the teacher doesn't ignore you, they still kind of say hi. And it kind of felt that way sometimes, where you'd see people and you'd say hello, not because you necessarily wanted to, but because you felt obliged to.
Yeah, and I guess for both you and for Katie, going to Dunedin for you and going to Wellington for you, Katie, that you were now, it's anonymous, but also in a safe zone, I guess. But I guess for you, Tane, that's changed over the years being in Dunedin now, because your anonymity is disappeared as you have done all these crazy roles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's got its pros and cons of getting to know people. You obviously, people like to get to know other people, but it comes that trade-off where, if you want to be in these roles and get to know lots of people, you also have to face being known all the time and people, likely bumping into somebody that knows you.
Yeah, the joys of being famous. The joys of being famous. Say, Katie and Tane, stop being famous. That's what we say, right? Or infamous. So, Katie, now you're living in Wellington. You have first of all, number one, you've ticked the expectation of going to university. That's a tick there. You're living in Wellington. What is that like for you? You did mention it was tough for you, but before we talk about the toughness, what is it like going into that environment of learning in a big university?
Well, for me, it was a lot different to high school. I felt like within high school, obviously it's a lot smaller and the teachers do know you, but I don't think I actually put myself fully into my study enough to have that relationship with my tutors and the lecturers. So for me, I wouldn't say I isolated myself, but I didn't put myself out there fully within my study. So I felt like I was quite alone within my study. Definitely apart from that, I did have some friends, like I said, that are doing the same as me. So I did some study groups with them. But other than that, I felt like it was my own little journey that I was on. Yeah.
And that's interesting because, you could be like, and this is a cliched quote, you can be in the most busiest place in the whole wide world, but you can still be super lonely. And, just because of the way the world works. So, and I guess I'm going to also bring in another flavor here into this. For listeners out there, Kate is also Maori. What is that journey for you when you went into this big space now with your Maori identity coming from, I guess, a small community to a big knit community?
They had really good groups down there that you could go into, but I was at a stage where I was at an identity crisis. So like I said, I didn't put myself out there. I didn't go into those groups. I didn't go and I think seek the support that would have been very, very beneficial for me. Yeah, looking back at it, I wish I did. I think I'd be at a different stage of my life if I did that. But you'll do your own pathways, and it takes you kind of where you need to be. And sometimes you just need to ride that wave and see where it takes you.
Yeah, totally. And the power of hindsight is amazing. We all had hindsight before we did something. Oh, everyone have a different story right here. So I guess it's the learning you take away and that you can tell others on the same journey. So you're in Wellington. You're at Victoria University, great university. You have an identity crisis. You also are living this world where you're not being yourself, I guess. What is the impact on you as a person as you're going through this?
I could definitely say my mental health declined a lot. So I actually had my sister and my brother who were down in Wellington living there. So I went and visited them quite often, which was really great for me. And I was actually with my partner. We were doing long distance at the time. So I would see him maybe every 3 to 4 weeks. So that was something that I was always looking forward to. And that aspect was a lot higher for me than actually doing my study. So towards the end of the year, I passed my first year, which I am very, very proud of myself.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you. And I was actually going to go into a flat and start my second year. But within that Christmas break, I just thought, I can't do it. I need to come home. I need to start again. I need to find myself, and I need to get into a good balance just so I can put myself out there 100% to whatever I want to do next. So that's where I was at there.
Yeah, given what you said, it was a bit of a struggle, but still passed your first year, which is fantastic. Well done, because first year is always a really, really tough year for everybody, actually. But what are the highlights for you? So we've spoken about it was tough. What are the highlights for you that just stand up for you when you were at university?
At university,
yeah.
The knowledge that I learnt, actually, so I can now input that into my mahi. Rory, my kai mahi, he did psychology down at Victoria as well, and it's quite good being able to converse with him just to see what I would have learnt in those next couple of years as well. Another highlight, I played basketball for the Victoria University women's team. So that was another highlight for me. Basketball is my passion, my sport. So I was actually really lucky that I was able to do that down there too. That took my mind off a few things.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, we got to focus on highlights as well. It's hard to remember the highlights when you're going through a time where things are pretty tough, pretty tough. Now, when you said your mental health was not the best, do you want to articulate what that was like, how that manifested? Because the reason I say this is because a lot of our listeners out there will be going through the same thing, and some of them might feel like they're the only ones this is happening to. If you don't mind sharing how that looked, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I was still learning about it myself. I fully didn't understand what was happening within me. So I had friends from school that I went down to Wellington with, and they were great. We were all in a good friend group in the halls. I was in Te Puni Hall, which is on campus at Victoria. But there was something changing in me, and I felt like I couldn't quite fit in. So my friends had actually told me that they feel like they're walking on eggshells around me. So that hit me, and that's when I started to realize, right, I need to internalize something here. I need to dig deeper and find out what that is. Whereas at the time, I thought that they just didn't want to be friends with me and they were isolating me, but totally not the case. So that was really hard because you're in your head 24/7, as well as trying to juggle your study and also just enjoy living.
Yeah.
So there was just so much happening at once, and I couldn't quite figure out either how to prioritize those. And then it just ended up me staying in my room at the hall, not wanting to leave, probably only going up to the hall to eat and then coming back down to my room and doing my study then. Yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. But when I moved home, I had the best support system that I needed at that time. Yeah, and that's what's kind of brought me to where I am today. I'm in a much better headspace. I know how to handle things. I know what my triggers are, and I know how to prevent kind of those anxiety attacks that were coming on at the time, which I didn't know what they were. I was like, what's happening to me? But yeah.
I think what's important for you there is the fact that your friends said that to trigger the change. A lot of times you hear stuff and then you blame other people, but it's the awareness that you had is actually, wait a minute, all the stuff that was happening was actually, I need to stop and think about it, because we don't do that, right? We blame other people. So that's an awesome awareness for you. But hey, I think we've got to also acknowledge the fact that this is happening until past the year, which is really, really impressive. So well done you again. I'm going to say it again. I don't know how hard it can be, especially when you're living in your head. And you said you cool, this is happening. You still thought you can live in a flat. What changed for you at Christmas time? What was the moment for you and actually, no, this is not good, I need to stay? Is there a particular moment, or was it someone who said something to you, or?
Yeah, I was actually at home at my parents' house out at Upunaki on the farm, and I was having a conversation with Mum, and I think that was the first time I talked about it all fully, and I just broke down. And I said, I can't do it. I need help. Yeah. And yeah, that was the best choice at that time. I think that was a learning curve for me too, to be able to talk about it. That's very important. It's all good and well to try and internalize it yourself, but talk. That's probably the best advice that I could give within this, within that time for me. And Mum said, I can do what I need to do for myself. There's those expectations on you, but they're not there. Those are the expectations that you have for yourself. So you do what's best for you, and I'll be there for you 100%.
That's beautiful. And I like the way you articulate that, because I think sometimes we have these perceived expectations of other people, but actually the expectations we set ourselves on perceptions. And Tana, I'm sure you would have seen that as well in your time, or felt that as well, maybe.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that, especially first year, going to a new environment where I didn't know how everybody else operated, like I didn't know how good people were academically or sporting wise or anything like that. So having these expectations of myself and having this drive that was like, I need to prove to myself that I am capable of doing it at a bigger stage, coming from a low decile school where, we still had high academic achievers, but not as many as probably at the university. So that was my main driver. And I look back and I recognize that it probably wasn't the healthiest way to go through my first year, but it has its pros and cons. The pro is it allowed me to be motivated. It gave me something to get up and actually go and achieve, because that's what I wanted to do. But also looking back, looking at why did I spend so much time on study when, there's more important things in the grand scheme of things. But I guess that's just something you have to navigate as a first year, and something that, you have to learn within yourself. There's only so much other people can say to you around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like, if you see a fire and until you get burnt by a fire, you're still going to try and touch that fire no matter what. So you get burnt and you go, okay, I'm not going to do that now. Okay, cool. And that's the only way you learn, right? Let's write that down. Cool. I'm also going to come back to you, Katie. So your identity crisis, how did you go? Was there something that was ongoing, or did you find, okay, wait a minute, I'm now going to get in touch with my Maori side and get into that deeper? Did that happen when you were at university, or did that happen when you came back home? Was it always part of your life, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's just been a part of my life.
Yeah.
So moving to from Opunake, because I boarded at Sacred Heart.
Yes.
So it's a boarding house. You're year 9 to year 13, but you can't stay in the weekends. Yep. So we either have to go home on the Friday, and then we can come back Sunday or Monday morning. So when I was at high school, I took Māori in level 1, but then there was a little stigma around, you take Māori. So that stuck in my head too. Looking back at it now, I'm like, why would you listen to that? You are who you are.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something, go and do it. So I think it was after my first year at university, when I came home and I was in that little pickle, that's when I wanted to find myself. I wanted to find out my background, my whakapapa, and be proud of who I am inside, and also who I want to be. So one of my future goals is to be proud of who I am, and either walking around or just doing what I'm doing, have someone that doesn't know me and look at me like, wow, she is proud to be Māori, whatever that looks like to them. But just to know fully inside that I am who I am.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I'm sure that'll happen. I mean, the fact that you're doing what you do right now is already the start of that journey there. So I'm just gonna delve into that there. So you came back home and you're all right, cool. I want to learn about my whakapapa. I want to learn about who I am from in terms of in the Māori world. Was there anyone you reached out to, or was it your whānau, or was it just your own internal work that you did?
At the start, it was internal. So I did a level 1 and 2 te reo course, he pika pau, at the wānanga locally here in New Plymouth. So I completed that last year.
Awesome. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah. And now my next task that I want to do for myself is do a whakapapa tree, or a family tree, of my mum's side. So my mum's side is Māori and my dad's side is Pākehā, and there's quite a bit of Irish in there too. So learning about both sides, and that's what makes me not just focus on one side. That's the mentality I had at one point. I said, no, that's not right. So yeah, learning both of those sides is my next goal.
Yeah, and that's so interesting, because a lot of us just focus on one side of our family, but actually there's two sides of the family. That family tree is a family forest, actually. If you think about it. And
definitely.
I remember when my dad was, hey, we're trying to teach us about my family tree, and we started going to the different layers. I was like, oh, this is just getting crazy. As you go further up, the tree goes like that. And you're like, whoa, you think it goes like that, but it actually goes like that. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. And it's so fascinating, so interesting as you do that there.
Definitely.
Tanya, what about yourself? I know your journey that you're going through, and I guess the tamoko is part of the journey there, which is very interesting. How has that been for you as you start identifying and finding more about who you are in terms of not just study, but who you are as a human being?
Yeah, I think it's been quite challenging. I think the further I get into it, the more challenging it becomes. But I guess, as Katie said, at the end of the day, it's about how can I be proud of myself, regardless of whether there's stigma or other ideas surrounding, who I am proud of. At the end of the day, it's me who needs to be proud of it, but also finding ways that I can achieve that. For me, learning Te Reo, that's good. And I will continue that journey, but it's how can I then actually implement that and use it in my life? Because it's one thing to learn these tools and have these tools, sorry, but the other thing is being able to actually bring it back and use it. There's only so much you can do. You can have a whole toolkit there, but unless you use it in the right way, it's not any use.
That's right, exactly. We all buy these tools here and they just get rusted. So, what's the point, right? So let's actually use those tools. That's really, really awesome. So Katie, you've come back home now. You're finding out who you are. You're looking after yourself. What does Katie then do? How does she get back out into discovering what she wants to do? What does she do next?
Go out and get a job.
Yeah.
My friend's mum was a manager at a company, Aspire to Distance Learning, and she told me to go apply for the job because I was just working at North Beach for the meantime. And that was really hard because I wasn't earning enough really to live. So I went for the interview, I got the job, and it was an administration job, as well as a student support person for the students. So I was in that job for about 2 to 3 years. I loved it. They actually helped me study. So they paid for me to study online, which was through the Open Polytechnic, a level 4 certificate in administration. So that got me back on my feet, doing some study and helping me realize that I can do anything that I put my mind to. It was very difficult, even though it was just one paper a term, as well as working full time, and then balancing your life outside of that. That gave me a bit of confidence that I can do it. So that kick-started on me finding myself again. And then after that, that's when I started my level 1 and 2 Te Reo course.
Awesome. And I guess in this time frame, your health and well-being also just started shifting, because it's easy, not easy. It's okay to go, I want to sign up for a course if you're still not looking after yourself. So did you find yourself changing with the way you saw things? And you mentioned before that you had the tools now. Did that help you as you were, hey, Katie, do this course here? Yeah, cool, bring it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from that course, that's helped me up until now as well. It's helping me do some processes here at work. And it's just, like you said, it's filling my kite of all these tools, my bag, my basket. Yeah,
awesome. And then so you were there being awesome there, you got your level 4. What made you jump ship to come to these people here? Jump ship.
Well, I had actually left that job and went to another one for about 5 months. Didn't love it. So I actually messaged Mitch at the end of last year, and I said, hey, Waiora has always been at the back of my mind since high school. And I just said, hey, do you have any jobs going anytime soon? She said, well, yeah, actually at the start of next year. So she sent me the link. I applied for it. Didn't even ask for the job description or anything. Just applied. Went through the interview process, and then once I was offered the job, I then asked for the job description.
And you're like, whoa, what is this?
But after my first day here at Waiora, I actually cried going back to my car, because that's what it felt like to finish a day of a job that you really love and are passionate about. So yeah, very, very happy at this point of my life at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's a phase in your life, right?
Yeah.
And let's hope it carries on for a long time, but it's a phase. And like they always say, if you find a job that you love, you're never going to work for a day in your life, right? That's the saying they say. So at the moment, it seems like you're doing that there. But
Yeah.
why did Wairo just click with you? Like what is it? You said you was something at the back of your mind for a long, long time. What was it about what they do that resonated with you?
It's the high water. They put high water before mahi, so they really care about their co-workers, and also we really care about the rangatahi as well, succeeding. But also, I really want to normalize being Māori and being successful, and that you can do whatever you want. Well, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah.
There is a barrier out there, I think, that are sitting with a lot of rangatahi out there.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that they don't have to listen to everyone else or anything that's going in their ears. Listen to themselves. You can do anything you put your mind to, and just give it a go. And if you fail, that's Katie Pai. Go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
There's always other opportunities out there for you, and you will find that something out there that is your niche that you love.
And then that's really, really powerful, that enabling success, but I guess also reframing what success actually is. For you, if you think back to success when you were growing up, was you had to go to university. And a lot of young people out there will have that in their mind. And I guess not re-educating, but actually going, hey, wait a minute, actually success is not defined by external people. It's need to be defined by what you think is success. But also, I guess you're always to challenge that success. Some people, my success might be I just want to be a cafe worker. That's cool. Why are you choosing that there when you're capable of a lot more, right? So, it's okay to be comfortable with success, but it's also okay to be challenged about why you define it as your success. And for some people that challenge will be pretty hard, and for some people they'll have an answer which is all good. So I think it's pretty cool what you do. And I guess, Tanya, this is what you see as well when you are in your role at the moment with this being, especially this week here, you're gonna well, next week.
Yeah, for sure. Just understanding that the students will be coming back. There'll be, some that have done really well, and that's awesome. But there's also going to be people who relook at, what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing. And, I think the hard part for me in this role of looking after these students is going to be how do I help them navigate this situation, because it's easy for the ones that have passed and done really well to be like, okay, I'm on this journey, I've done well, I can continue doing what I'm doing. But it's for the ones that are going, either they blame themselves or they blame other people, and it's about how can we reframe that to choose positives from it, and I guess that's something I've been able to do through my journey. Even coming back down here now with 6 months to go, it's hard because I'm so close to the end of my journey yet so far. And so understanding, like it is good to go home. It was so good to be home and have family and have support structures there. It was quite difficult to come down, but looking at the positives of I'm so close to finishing, there's so many opportunities still here and so many opportunities I can also provide to other people. So just looking at how can we find the positives, even though there might be negatives associated with that.
And then that's a hard line to try and speak to a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old when everyone's bulletproof at that time and it's their way or the highway, and that's okay. This is life. We're all humans, and we'll go through that. It's just the way we tell the story that has to resonate somehow, I guess. Okay, now you're working your role, and which is awesome. And what about, so you have this amazing role that you're doing. I'm going to call you Dream Enabler because I think that's pretty cool. What else have you done for yourself that's expanded your mind, just as a person, now that you are in the space here?
Having time to myself, and being okay with kind of being alone, because that wasn't something that I could do while I was down in Wellington.
Yeah.
But it's a totally different mindset now. So just taking time for yourself, whether that's taking a bath, going for a walk, dipping your toes in the water. I listened to a podcast at the time. That's what I quite like to do. And I just ground myself really. and get myself ready for the next thing. Play
And do you,
sport.
and do you feel selfish about that there? You know, a lot of people feel selfish about taking time for themselves. Is there any feeling of guilt?
No, not really. No, because I got to do what I need to do for myself.
100%.
Sometimes you might need to just have that time to yourself, and then you can go back and kind of be the best version that you can for whoever you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I do understand that. But yeah, you need to do what you need to do to make sure that you are okay.
Exactly. And especially if you work in a space where you're trying to help other people, or whatever you're doing, if you can't help yourself, then how can you actually help other people? How do you perform at your best, whether it's in work or at home or on the basketball court or whatever it is? Are you still playing basketball? Is that still your sport? Or have you found another exciting?
Yeah, no, I still play basketball. I actually twisted my ankle on Wednesday.
Oh, sports, I tell you.
Yeah, limping around for the last 2 days, but should be right.
Awesome. And I guess that gives you another passion, another energy when you get involved in that sport. That's a different passion that you have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. I've been playing since I was 5. I was actually going to stop playing this year because I got in my own head, but I'm glad I didn't. So yeah, it's good. Takes my mind off things.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess, Tanya, I'm going to bring you back in here because you've recently come back to a sport that you had stopped for a while, and you've come back to it as an old man.
Not quite, but yeah, it's different again. Like, I think it feels like I've started that journey of being in sport again. And it's also allowed me to actually find the passion again, which is good, because after, doing reps and doing so many things of, trying to get better and better and better, sometimes it is good to just actually step back and see why it is you actually enjoy it in the first place. Sometimes when you're so ingrained in doing what you're doing, you don't actually, or you lose sight of why it is you're passionate about doing these things.
Yeah, and that's a big learning, not just for sport, but for anything that we do in life, right? Sometimes we just try and get the next best thing, but you forget about actually why you actually enjoy whatever you're doing. It's awesome that, but sometimes you need to take a break. Please realize that. Yeah. So, and sometimes it's a forced break, like a twisted ankle. Oh, can't do it anymore. So sometimes it's just a break that you take on purpose. Katie, we've been talking for almost 45 minutes now. Almost 45 minutes, 50 minutes. We're going to ask you the hardest question on our podcast. And our podcast is called Baskets of Knowledge. And every podcast episode, we like to ask our guests for a piece of knowledge that they would like to share with our listeners that they could put into their basket of knowledge. So is there anything that you'd like to share with our listeners from your experiences that you think would be amazing?
Yeah, what I would say is ride the wave, see where it takes you, and yeah, you put me on spot there, didn't you?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's our weekly reaction. That's our weekly reaction. So we love it.
Yeah. No, just ride the wave, see where it takes you, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's what I'd say.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, ride the wave, see where it takes you, and there's always light in the tunnel, as long as it's not a train coming towards you, but that's okay, it's the light. But yeah, so I mean that's important because all of us are going to be facing our own waves in life, and it's easier to ride the wave instead of trying to stop the wave, because it's a wave, it's coming. Whether you like it or not, it's going to come. So that's awesome. And like you said in your story, you rode the wave. You had these expectations at the start. You rode that expectation because that's what you thought you had to do. You rode the wave to go to university, to do psychology because your friends were doing that there. And as the wave has, I guess, crescended, it's now taking you back home. And I guess there's no regrets as from what I can tell as to what's happened. So that's an amazing share. And I guess that can go to anyone that's listening to this podcast, whether it's study, whether it's sport, whether it's a career, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is. You just got to think about the light in the tunnel. But also, I guess you'd also add that you've also got to take ownership in this at some point. Even though you're riding the wave, you have to take an ownership and go, wait a minute, I have to also control where the surfboard is going. I can't just let it go all over the place.
Mhm.
Tanya, anything you'd like to add before we close up?
I guess just on that note, appreciating being on the wave as well. It's scary when you start to ride that wave, and by the time it's over, you want to do it again, but you also got to learn to appreciate that riding the wave and actually being able to ride that wave, because not everybody's been able to ride that wave.
Yeah, what a great addition. So, Kate, look at your learning. It's just expansion of so many things. So that's a great learning. Kate, any last words before we say thank you to you? Anything you'd like to close up with?
Just thank you for the invitation to talk on here. It's been great.
No worries. It's our pleasure to have you. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us what you've gone through. And I know that you're going to get to your goal, which is to be a role model to any Maori, or to actually anybody out there, to go, hey, actually that person there is an awesome person who is doing what she wants, where she wants, and how she wants. So we look forward to seeing you doing that. And just when you get famous, don't forget us, right? We had you here first.
Of course.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Tane. And as always, to our listeners out there, thank you for listening in. Remember to like, share, comment on our podcast. Without you, we can't grow and we can't share the love. It's not about the growth, it's about sharing the information and the knowledge that we have in these podcasts. Until next time, don't forget to put something into your basket of knowledge. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Baskets of Knowledge.
Yeah, we hope that you found something useful to put into your basket of knowledge. And as we said before, remember to put something little into your baskets of knowledge every week. And as always, feel free to like, comment, and share this podcast. Thanks, everybody. Bye.